Remember those two little pieces of interfacing that we cut? We're going to take those two pieces of interfacing and we're going to fuse them to the seam allowance. You're going to need a pressing cloth that has been, that's a light broadcloth cotton that is been wet and wringed out. It should be fairly wet. This is to activate the glue on the fusible interfacing. You feel it to make sure that the bubbly side goes towards the fabric. That's the side that has the glue. You don't want to turn that upside down and get it on your pressing cloth or iron. Because if you get it on your iron, you're not going to be a happy camper. So I'm going to take, and I positioned the fusible interfacing just a little bit past the stitching line. It may, on occasion, you know, like be a little bit more or less at the top. That's not a big deal. Then you're going to place your damp pressing cloth on top. One motion. You can hear it sizzle. Voila. Now I put the interfacing on now because I'm going to serge the edges, and that way it'll be a nice finish. I'm not lining these pants, but they do fray, so therefore they do need to be serged at the edges. And I want to do that before I stitch them together. It just, it's a little bit easier. Okay, so now on to the other side. Remember, feel it. The nubbly side goes to the bottom. Put it in place. Then you take another damp spot, not that, because you see the pressing cloth, where you pressed it, it dried. There's the iron mark. Well, you want to get that damp part right on the interfacing. And get used to doing this because many times you'll find that you end up having to underline the whole fabric even before you cut it. So there you go. Then when you are ready to put in the zipper, you're going to press that and it'll give you a beautiful crisp line. You can see already how it stays in place. I have my machine set up. This is my little domestic machine, my little workhorse that I take with me to classes. And I have a few different zipper feet here. Now, most machines are equipped with this type of zipper foot, or the one that is double-sided, that has, like this is very wide, and it has a slot on one side and a slot on the other. The theory behind that being you can just easily switch from one side to the other, whereas just a single side, you can't do that. However, I went ahead and bought this one. This is the old-fashioned zipper foot that we used to have way long ago. When I bought this machine, I looked at that and I said, that's not going to work very well. So I went and bought this one here that it actually allows, there's a screw at the back, and it allows the foot to slide. It allows it to slide from one side to the other. So if you have to switch sides, it does slide. There we go. It slides from one side to the other. So if you have to switch sides, you can. So you see, it slides. You can, and you just, whichever side you're on, you just screw it in place. Now, I like this one here because it also is quite narrow. And it gets very close to the teeth on the zipper, which is the whole point, which is very similar to the commercial ones. This one I don't like because that shank is so big, and the one that's twice as big, imagine that it really doesn't allow for the needle to get that close to the zipper teeth. You see the end of the foot? You see the slot for the needle. Even if you have the capacity, if your machine has the capacity to move the needle over, you can do that, certainly, but it's still not going to be very stable. because this part of the presser foot, the front part, is off the zipper. So here is a sample of how to install the lap zipper. I'd like you to do this before you do it on your actual pants. So that way you get a little bit of a trial run before you install it in your pants. It's always good to have practice. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to baste the zipper in. Now I chose these oddball colors to make it easier to see, because with the black on black, it's very difficult. You can't tell what's what. No matter how much light there is, it's still very difficult to see. So we have a green zipper with light gray background and red thread. So I'm going to make a knot on the thread first, just by rolling it around my finger and then rolling it down and pull. So there you have a knot. Then I'm going to take the zipper and I'm going to put it, now this is the left side of the pant, this is the right side of the pant. A lap zipper, the right side, always goes close to the teeth. Very close to, right at the zipper teeth. The raw edge and zipper tape are equal. They're placed one on top of the other. And you just start to baste. So I'm leaving the zipper closed and I have the teeth close to the fold. So just start to baste. Now basting is just a temporary stitch that's there to hold it together during either a fitting or to hold it together when you stitch it. It's basically very similar to the tailor tack that we've done next to the tissue paper, except that there's no loops and the stitches are just a bit closer together. So you see how it goes by fairly quickly. I'm just going to get that out of the way. You're going to get down to the end. Once you get down to the end, stitch down and go over to the other side, just like that. Then you're going to slightly overlap that, just ever so slightly, and continue to baste on this side. Just ever so slightly. I'm just going to hold it like this. Till you reach the end. When you reach the end, you do a couple of back stitches just to keep it in place. That's what it looks like on the other side. Now I'm going to start stitching from here, the way I basted, from here down, stitch to the bottom, back tack. Then I'm going to move the presser foot over to the other side, because the presser foot is going to be on the right hand side of the stitching line. I'm going to move the presser foot now to the left hand side of the needle, as well as the stitching line. So it's going to be on the left hand side here, and then you're going to start and go in the same direction till you get here, and then you're going to go across. So now there's my sewing machine. I have to change the presser foot to use the zipper foot. So I'm going to remove it. And then these two little prongs right there, these two little hooks, they get hooked up onto the screw and the shank. So they get screwed in. I'm going to position it to the right side of the needle. Now I'm checking that the needle is in the right position. I want the presser foot to be very close to the zipper teeth to hold it in place. So then, as I said, I'm going to start from here and work my way down. Yeah. back tack. So there's the red basting and the black stitching, very, very close to the zipper teeth. Now I'm going to put the presser foot to the left side of the needle. And starting at the top once again, because you want to go in the same direction, because the fabric has a tendency to travel a little bit. Okay, work your way down. When you get to the end, you're going to leave that needle down or put it down. Then you're going to pivot and you're going to go across. And you're going to back tack. And your zipper is installed. Doesn't get much easier than that. Now we have to shorten the zipper because it's a bit long. So I have just a little piece of cotton. You can use lining. If your fabric is thin enough, you can even use the same fabric. A little piece of sew-in interfacing, like a lightweight, that would work too. I just happen to have a piece of cotton and I put it in. So I'm going to change my presser foot back to the regular stitching. Then I'm going to cut the zipper. Now I can safely cut it because it's already been reinforced or tacked down over here because I went over it 3 times with the sewing machine. If you feel that you want to have a little bit more security, you can always do a whip stitch in here, just underneath the stitching. It's really not that necessary. So here we go. I'm just cutting. Now imagine if that would have been a disaster if I had cut and then tried to unzip. That's why I always leave the zipper till after it's installed to cut. So now I have this little piece of cotton. It's actually a bit wide, but that's okay. So you want to have it just very similar to the zipper tape. So I'm going to place it on top of the zipper like this so that the cut edge and the raw edge of the fabric are together. And then I'm going to stitch across this way. So this way, when I fold it down, you get a nice finished edge there. So I'm just sewing the zipper, putting everything else out of the way. Just sewing the zipper to, or the fabric to the zipper, that's all. And then back tacking, and back tacking. Okay. So the objective here is to take and fold that up and then have just a little bit to fold under. So this is a bit too long. I'm just going to cut off, I didn't really measure, but it could be about 3 centimeters by 4.5. I just went ahead and cut. There we go. So here it's a shorter piece. So now that looks better. Fold it up, fold a little piece under like this, just like that. Then I'm going to take and stitch up this way and that way. down, pivot. Once again, leave the needle down, pivot, stitch, and back. And you've got a nice finished zipper that won't bother you. You can trim the edges. You can fray check them so they don't fray on you if it's a fraying type of fabric. There we go. You have a beautifully finished zipper. Inside, outside, and inside.